Hi, this is Rabbi Orlofsky with the Parsha in 5, where in 5 minutes we try to give you a little thought on the Parsha. Parsha is Vayigash. Yehuda stands up and makes this very impassioned speech. What kind of a person would do this to my elderly father? My father has this son and he loves him, and it'll break his heart if his son doesn't come back. It will kill him. You'll kill my father with pain and suffering. What kind of a person takes a child away from his father? Who takes away a beloved child from an elderly father? And Yosef looks at him and says, Ani Yosef. Is Yaakov still alive? Wow. Because here Yehuda says, what kind of a terrible person would take a child away from his father? And Yosef says, I was thinking the same thing. Did you think about that when you knew that Dad loved me and you took me away from him for 22 years? But he lived, right? All of a sudden now you're worried about his health. You didn't care when you sold me away. You were ready to kill me. You didn't care how that would affect Dad, right? Say the Chazal, based on this incident, Oy lonu miyom hadin. The day of judgment is going to be truly terrifying. What is there here that is Yom Hadin? And there's one medrash that says that they literally died and had to come back to life from the shame and from the shock. So says the Beis Halevi, the thing that gets us in Olam Haba is the contradiction. The contradiction. Kodesh Baruch Hu has a keen sense of humor. I remember this when Netanyahu was running against Perez. And the pollsters, based on the exit polls, predicted a Labor Party win with 50.2% of the vote. Now, there's a margin of error. Why would you declare a winner? And I remember Yael Dayan was asked by the media. And he says, well, you have to understand this is a very, very narrow victory. Almost half the country is against you. Do you have to take into account? And she said, even if we have one vote more, we can do whatever we want. That was at night. In the morning, after they finished counting the votes, it turned out Netanyahu won. And I heard later on the radio an interview with Yael Dayan. And she said, Netanyahu has to remember that half the country voted against him, and he doesn't really have a mandate, and he better make sure and take into account the other half. But it was like, mamish, right then and there. If it hadn't happened that way, we couldn't have gotten her down saying something so incredibly stupid. Hence, Mark Twain says, keep your words soft and sweet. It'll be easier when you have to eat them later. Should take that into account. Yeah. So here Yehuda is making this whole impassioned speech. What kind of a person takes a child away from his father, yeah? Hey, it's Yosef. And at that moment, everything just collapses because the contradiction. Says the Beis Halevi, that's what Yom Hadin is. We get up to Shemayim. And Hashem says to us, why didn't you learn Torah? He says, I was so busy. I was working. I was making a living. I was taking care of my home. I had so much work to do. And Hashem says, I hear it. But I'm looking at all these affairs you did, and some of these were really pretty time-consuming. I bet you could have learned during that time. And he'll say, why didn't you give tzedakah? It was so hard because, I had to do this. I had to support my family. I had to pay tuitions. I had this, that. Because I hear. But look at all these affairs you did. Some of these were pretty expensive. But you had money for that. Couldn't you give him that money as tzedakah? And it's the contradiction that catches us when there's nothing to say. And so that's what happened to Yehuda, and that's what the Yom Hadin is. The scary part are the contradictions. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu hits us with our own words, hits us with our own deeds, and says, this itself condemns you. As we say in the Sana Tokef, everybody signs on to the din themselves. You know that it's true. It's an inspiration, I hope, for all of us to live lives of more integrity. Good Shabbos.